Ideate software is all about simplifying your Revit data challenges. We create 5 add-on or plug-in solutions to Revit that you see there on the screen. Ideate BIMLink, Ideate Explorer, Ideate Sticky, Ideate Apps, and Ideate Style Manager. But today we are going to be focusing primarily on Ideate Style Manager. As Annalisa said, it's our latest product that we introduced in June of this year. So we're going to be talking about that, but I also want to give you kind of an overview of the other 4 solutions. So I figured I'd spend about 20 minutes on Style Manager and then 20 minutes on our other Ideate software Revit solutions, and then I'll have some time for questions. So as Annalisa said, you can go to the question panel, you can type in questions at any time, and then at the end of the presentation, we'll try to answer those questions as best we can. So everyone's in a listen-only mode or they're muted, but you can go to the question panel and you can type questions. So Annalisa already did all this great introduction. I don't need this page, but I will say you can always contact me for technical questions at richard.taylor@ideatesoftware.com. You can follow me on Twitter, and I'd be happy to connect with you on LinkedIn. The only caveat, I guess, with LinkedIn is my middle initial is W for William. And so that obviously both Richard and Taylor are very common names. So when you're searching on LinkedIn, having the middle initial is very helpful, but I'd be happy to connect with you on that. So let's get right into it. We're going to talk about Ideate Style Manager. So Style Manager was developed by Ideate software because we saw a big problem in the sense of Revit projects and templates kind of getting out of hand with all kinds of styles that don't match our standards. So what happens is, and I'm sure everyone knows, you load content from a third party, or maybe you copy information from one Revit project to another Revit project, or you import or link in AutoCAD or MicroStation information. And then all of a sudden, your object styles and your line styles and your line patterns are all over the place and they don't match your standards. So we developed Ideate Style Manager to sort of basically really focus the reviewing of all these styles in one location and being able to sort of analyze if they're being used, being able to merge them to the correct style, or being able to delete or purge them out of your Revit project if they're not being used. So the first thing is some of this information obviously can be deleted right from Revit. Like as an example, object styles, you may have a bunch of subcategories under plumbing fixtures, right? And this might have come in from a third-party content, this clearance that you see there on the screen. And if you go into Revit, Revit allows you to delete it, right? And what happens though is it doesn't tell you what changes. Basically, anything that was assigned to that clearance subcategory automatically gets moved up to plumbing fixtures. So in this case, it's a projection of 1 that's black. So all of a sudden, things that might have been gray with this dashed dot are now black and solid. And so that can change the look of your drawings. And that may not be, hopefully, I think that's not what we really intended. So really, we're going to look at Style Manager and we're going to assess the risk of this deletion with an analyze function. So we're able to analyze, are these styles even being used? Then we're going to be able to fix and standardize them by merging them to the appropriate styles. And then I'm going to show you how we can manage duplicate styles. And then a big sort of contributor to this problem is what I mentioned when you import or link AutoCAD or MicroStation or IFC or other CAD format data, right? Then the object styles get created in Revit, and especially if you import or explode, there's all kinds of stuff that gets created that doesn't match your standards. So we're going to look at how you can use Ideate Style Manager to clean up some of that. So let's just take a quick spin on Ideate Style Manager. So all of the Ideate software tools are accessible through the ribbon panel under Ideate software. And the Ideate Style Manager, what we've done is we've tried to create a home screen here that shows you help. It has access to both in-product help as well as online help. So all of our products have both like getting started guides in the product, but also help online. And then Ideate Style Manager is actually 9 tools in one. We've sort of grouped these together. We have object styles, line patterns, fill patterns, materials, material appearance assets, filters, view templates, and scope boxes. So we've kind of collectively called those styles, right? Even though Revit may not exactly call them a line or call them a style. So like as an example, I'm going to use the fill pattern here, and I'm going to go and basically the tab on the left is showing you the current fill patterns in the project, and then the information on the right is showing you where those are used. So I can use the search key and I can type in sand as an example, and it's going to show me all of the fill patterns that contain those letters, sand. So then I have the ability to review that information. You see there's a little question mark off to the left. These have not been analyzed yet. So I can go ahead and select Analyze and basically choose which ones I want. And you can see that, okay, well, that sand dense drafting pattern is used in a particular material. This other one looks like it came in from a German project. And I'm going to be showing some German examples here today just because I do have this project that was created by a German architecture firm. And so there may be styles, again, that I don't necessarily want. So I can look at the materials and information. I can actually edit it directly from this dialog as well. And you'll see that this dialog allows me to interact with the Revit information very easily. So I'm going to double click on sand drafting. And again, it tells me that not only is it used in certain materials, but it's used in a family up here as well, this waterproofing section. And again, I can open up the family and review that. I'll show some examples of that in just a moment. But basically, the idea is that you can sort of analyze information. You can rename that. So like in this case, let's say whatever this German information is, I'm going to rename it. And so it doesn't have sand in it anymore. So I still have the fill pattern, or I still have the search for sand. So now it's still there. It just was renamed. It just doesn't match my search for sand. So I now just have these 2 sand drafting patterns. Now, as I said, you can go out and use any Revit command. So this is what we call non-modal, meaning that it can be open and active, and I can go review fill patterns, or I can go review materials, as you'll see here in a moment. But in this case, I can review these two, sand and sand dense. And maybe I want them both to be used, meaning that I'm going to have 2 different ones. Or maybe they're similar enough where I actually want to merge the sand, the one here that's called sand drafting, I want to merge that into sand dense. So what I can do is select merge, and then here it brings up that I want to merge it into sand dense. And so any of the fill patterns that, whether it's in a family or a material or other information, it's going to say that that has been updated. So you'll see here we get a nice little report saying that the surface pattern was replaced, the cut pattern was replaced, the surface pattern again was replaced. So I can understand exactly what was happening. And now that sand dense drafting has 6 let's say elements that are using that, right? So this dialog on the left allows me to understand, which items I haven't analyzed yet, which items are in use, which are unused. There are built-in categories or built-in information in Revit that I do not have the ability to change, in some cases like the object styles. So you'll see those are in italics, and so I won't have the I won't have the ability to, let's say, delete a object style that's a built-in Revit category, as an example. So in this case, I'm looking at these this information, these fill patterns, and I can go ahead and just highlight those, and I can do a shift select. I can see which ones are used or not analyzed, and there I can say, oh, well, all of those, again, I can shift select. They're not even being used anywhere in the project. Let's get rid of them. And so I can clean out. And there you see the solid fill drafting and the solid fill drafting. There's 2 selections that are built into Revit, so that those are not sort of modifiable. Now, when you see the colors represent that there is duplicates. So notice the little check mark says isolate duplicates. That's basically saying that whether it's the brickwork drafting and the steel drafting are the same definitions. Now, that doesn't mean that you might not want both of them. It's just saying that they're both referencing the same sort of pattern and information. So in this case, again, I've got this sand dense drafting and I've got this gyps puts, which came from my German project. And so I may want to say, well, you know what? I want to take that everything that was on that gyps put drafting and maybe merge it into sand dense drafting because I pulled that again from my German project. So it gives me a lot of selection, like all those little tick marks or check boxes up at the top allow you to sort of filter what you're looking for. And right now I've been showing you fill patterns, but we're going to look at some materials, we're going to look at other information, and basically it works the same whether you're doing object styles or fill patterns or filters or view templates. It has this many of the same selections. So that's kind of a quick spin on Style Manager. Now, the idea here is that you're doing this risk assessment. Like I said at the very beginning, you're not just deleting something and hoping for the best and thinking, well, I don't know where I'm using this object style or this subcategory. I'm just going to get rid of it. Now, the important thing is that Ideate Style Manager gives you the ability to analyze, is it even being used? Where is it being used? And what's the impact if I do change it? So in this case, let's look at another example here. And again, I talked about like we're going to do materials. So this is a good one. I've got this German project again. I've got a bunch of materials that I'm going to look at and line styles. So you see here, I've got this line style that's called Ausziehungen, and it's actually in a detailed filled region here. And you notice that it also shows you that it's in views. If it's overridden, like if you do a right-click override in view, it will show you that. So I can go right over here and I can open up that detailed filled region in the best view possible, edit the boundary, and then when I click on the boundary of that filled region, there's that Ausziehungen line style. So it allows me to drill down exactly where it's being used. And like I said, if you're we've actually noticed some really interesting things that view templates sometimes can have these line styles or information that's been overridden. The elements can, as I mentioned, you can right click and override in a particular view. It can be in, obviously a family. And so these things are really hard to find in Revit. And so Ideate Style Manager helps you understand where all this information is being used. So then once you analyze and you understand where things are being used, you can now use Ideate Style Manager to fix and standardize. As you saw at the very beginning, or I should say at that quick spin, is I was able to sort of batch merge all of those into one of my approved styles. So again, let's take a look at this with using the material example. Now in Revit, here's my material browser. I can just go in and I can actually just delete this concrete, right? This cast in place in situ. And you'll notice that over there, I'm showing to the left, the pattern basically that's associated with that gets deleted. So again, Revit will allow you to delete this stuff, but you just don't know what the impact's going to be. Of course, in this case, I just happen to have that view open and I could see it very easily changing, but that's not always going to be the case. So I can organize this and say, you know what, I want the top number of items that are using concrete to be shown. And you can see that there I've got my element types, whether it's used in a particular material or whether it's used, again, in a family and so forth. So in this case, I can actually even click on the wall and go in and highlight that it's inside the wall, right? There's materials that have been associated or created in that wall. There's a number of different materials. And so it knows that that particular concrete was used in that wall material. And you see here, I'm actually showing now this cast in place in situ. And I can see, I want to merge, again, the information, and it's going to then update all that information, whether it's in a family, you'll see here it updates element types, it updated the cast in place concrete, and you'll see that the different parameters have been set there. And all the structural materials have been updated as well. And then I'm going to mention this, but I always like to people always ask about it. in that it's changing information in the project only, meaning that if there are families that are loadable families that exist outside, whether you've got a content management system or they're on your network drive or something, it's not going to change those outside of the project. It changes that everything within the RVT file, if the family is loaded, obviously, and it has the information, then that will be updated. Then what you could do as a next step is if everything's cleaned up the way you want and the materials are changed, as in this example, you could save off the RVT file on your disk or into your content management system, and then it would have the new updated information. So, and I think particularly we have a lot of questions about imports. So whether it's AutoCAD or MicroStation or IFC import, even when you link an AutoCAD file, what it will do is it creates the object styles that are mapping basically to the layers within AutoCAD. So all of a sudden you've got these object styles that are showing imports, right? And then you've got maybe you've imported a title block is a good example that has an AutoCAD, let's say, symbol. And all of a sudden now you have this imports and families showing up. So you thought you removed all these CAD files, but in fact you've got a number of imports and families. And title blocks I use that as an example because that always seems to be a situation where there are a lot of sort of imported geometry. So how can we safely get rid of these? Well, again, Ideate Style Manager allows you to review, not only the model objects here that you see on the object styles, but I can go over to imported objects. I can see CAD files that I've imported, but we're also going to talk about the CAD files that, like I said, are part of the family, whether it be a title block or whether it be, a desk or a chair in my example. So when I'm looking at object styles, there is a separate tick mark or checkbox for imported styles. So I can look at, I can sort of untick the object styles, which are the ones from Revit, and I can look at just imported styles. And so the bold here are the actual AutoCAD. In this case, this is the toilet layout 2D DWG. So meaning that there's still an import or a link, which is that AutoCAD DWG, and then all of the associated layers, if you will, because layers get converted to object styles underneath that, right? So there's that toilet layout 2D, and you can see that I've got 3 instances of this within my project. And just like you may be familiar with Ideate Explorer, where you can, say show, you can double click, and you can open up the view where that CAD import is located. But Ideate Style Manager allows me to really understand how that's being used. I could replace this maybe with some Revit content, or I might want to explode it. In the past, we haven't always recommended the ability to explode because then that creates all kinds of line styles and import information. But now with Ideate Style Manager, it's pretty easy to clean that up. So you can sort of do these explode or create Revit content pretty easily without having to mess up your projects. So in this case, I'm looking for imports and families, and I just wanted, this is what I was talking about, is that, it shows me the family that this particular item is used. We've got plumbing fixtures, we've got this toilet, ticket presentation desk in the families. And so you can kind of drill down and really understand where this information is being used. Like in this case, this imports and family, I'm looking for this BMCD2, right? So I'm gonna edit the family, I'm gonna open it up. And so here is this desk basically, and it's even saying, oh, well, you know what? This is a nested family. There was a desk, but there's actually a piece of furniture, which is the chair, that's part of that desk. And then I'm gonna go open up that. And then when I look at this furniture subcategory, over to the left, I open that and I look at the properties palette, you can see there's the subcategory, that BMCD2. So not only was it in the family, it was in the nested component of that family. So again, Ideate Style Manager can look at multiple levels, and I can change that in the family, but again, I'm changing that here for the project. So it'll update the information if I want to change the object style or the line style of this particular family. But again, I'm doing it for the RVT. Then I'd want to save off that ticket presentation desk as a Revit family file, right? And then that would have the clean import. So in this case, I'm actually saying, you know, that thing, I want to put it just on the default Revit style, which is called imports and families. I'm going to merge that over, so I don't want to see that BMCD2-12ZR, whatever the sequence was. And now that object style was removed and was replaced with a new, which was that imports and families. So again, it gives you some great forensic tools to be able to understand how these styles, whether they're imported styles or whether they're native styles to Revit, how they're being used, and gives you the ability to sort of merge or delete or find out where they are. So as I mentioned sort of a little while ago, you know, if you don't have Style Manager, basically you just have to hope for the best. You know, you delete something and you say, well, gee, I hope it works. I hope nothing changed in my project. But now you don't have to think about that. You really can use Ideate Style Manager to sort of, as I said, forensically analyze where these are used and what the impact will be if you change them and if you merge them to the appropriate style. So, you know, real quickly, I just showed you an analyze function of Ideate Style Manager. We talked about how we can merge from a non-standard style to an approved style within our project, and showing you the different colors will show you duplicate styles or the same definitions. And then we were able to delete those either unused object styles, or like in this case, we went through and deleted some imports in the CAD files. All right, and I also wanted to, even before I go on to the next part of the presentation, I'm going to switch over here to the Microsol Resources website. They have an awesome website, but I'm also going to click on our Ideate software site and just show you that if we come over here to support, you have our 5 solutions, and you can go to Ideate Style Manager or really any one of our other solutions, but I want to just show you videos. And so since we're talking specifically about Ideate Style Manager, you can see that I have specific videos on, there's a technical demonstration, there's tuning your template that was done by a consultant that you may know, Brian Mackey. You know, why is Style Manager important? You know, an introduction. So there are a number of these short videos. Here's, you know, cleaning up imported CAD styles specifically with Style Manager. So I just wanted to kind of point you to that we do have a lot of additional information and videos on Style Manager, as well as all of our applications on our website. Okay, so the next part of the presentation is just to give you kind of an overview of our other 4 Ideate software solutions. And I'm going to start with Ideate BIMLink. And BIMLink just had a big milestone this year. It just turned 10 years old. So we feel it's really the premier solution for extracting information from the Revit model, sending it to Excel, reviewing it, making changes or updates in Excel, and then importing that information back into the Revit model. So, you know, over the last 10 years, every single, we've had multiple releases per year, but we were always updating the functionality and updating the kinds of information and parameters that you can extract. So, you know, the first question is, why is it important? Why would you want to work with Excel? Well, Excel allows you to do lots of formulas, allows you to sort of cut and paste and basically change things, multiple cells by dragging them down. And the Revit schedule is just really difficult to use. And some of those things just aren't, like for instance, if you wanted to select multiple rows in a Revit schedule, you have to do it row by row. So that Excel can automate some of this information for you. And you know, we give you access to not only the parameters for a particular element, like let's say an example, you're working with rooms. So you have all the room, you know, the square footage, the height, maybe the you know, the wall paint materials. But then we also give you adjacent information to that room. So there might be level information. There might be, is it part of an RVT link? And there's parameters that you can extract as well. So it's not just the parameters about a single element. You have multi-category type parameters. And then where I just wanted to comment, our last release of Ideate BIMLink, we've done some updates allowing you to store the information on BIM 360 directly through the desktop connector. So you can export out directly to Excel via the desktop connector and then import information directly from the BIM 360 via the desktop connector as well. And then this particular release, like I said, the last one that we did was in November. We did a lot of updates to creation sequences. Like we were always able to kind of place sheets and rooms and key schedules and masses and generic models, but now we can actually place a lot more from the Excel file. And so I thought I'd show just a couple examples of that. So if we come over here to Revit, this is Revit 2020, but all of our Ideate software solutions are available through Revit 2017, 18, 19, and 20. We can come over here and I can look at sort of if I come up and look at BIMLink, here are the definitions I have in this project. But we have a new sample Excel file that's all about creation. So I thought I'd go through that just for a second. And so what we do is we're going to come over here and I'm just going to create a new project. All right. And I'm going to use the default mechanical template. So nothing special here, just creating a new project in Revit, right, that has this mechanical template. And we're going to look at the south elevation here as an example. And notice that this template already has level 1 and level 2 created. Well, maybe I want to create some new levels very quickly. So I'm going to switch over here to my Ideate software project setup. And again, this is a sample file that we're delivering with Ideate BIMLink. And that has, well, you might want to create new levels. You might want to create new floor plans, new sheets, new viewports. So the first thing you'll notice is this sample file or this template has level 1, level 2. Now I'm going to I've already put this here, level 3, 4, 5, and 6. And you see that over on the column A, there's the word new. So that BIMLink knows to create a new piece of data. So the way that this works is we'll come over here to Ideate software, we'll select on BIMLink, we're going to create a new link definition from my samples, my create elements, we're going to do levels. I'll say next and say done, and then we're going to import, and I've called this rich mechanical. I've just made a couple changes there. And so here is the tab that I'm looking at that you see that I showed you right here, which was, right here, 00 levels create new. So over here on BIMLink, that's what I'm going to import and say, okay. So now it tells me, hey, you created 4 new levels. And I'm going to import those, and you see those levels now are created within my project. And so I can use the key over here to select those as well. Now, the next step might be to create some sheets and views. So we're going to come back over here, and you see that there's the views. I've got just some sample views, right, that are in this this tab. And in fact, what we've done here is level 6, you'll notice, is actually coming. This is, again, just a sample. It's coming from the other tab here. So if I come over to level 6, just to show you that if I type in the word 6 and come over here, this part updates to level 6. So we're using the power of Excel with these formulas to fill out a lot of the information. So we already created that level, so I'm going to just come back over here and just say 6. And we're going to come over here to this views, create new plans. We'll switch back over here. I'll go back to my first floor plan, and we're going to go to BIMLink. And again, now this time we're going to say new, and I'm going to do all these at once now. So I'm going to say views, create new plans. I'm going to do a control on sheets and viewports and say next. So it creates all those link definitions basically at one time. So the views create new, I'm going to go to the properties here. And what I want to do is look for a parameter called sub-discipline. And I'm going to add that to my list, and I'm going to move that up the list so it's associated level, family and type, then sub-discipline, then the view name, the title, the scope, and the view template. Say OK, and then import again from rich mechanical template. And we're going to do the views create new, and watch the project browser over to the left. You notice you see all these new HVAC plans, all these new mechanical plans and plumbing plans were created, all these new elements. So I can now import them. Now I want to create new sheets. So I'm going to go here to the import, and we're going to do rich again, and we'll select on sheets create new. And it's going to create all these new sheets. And I've specified the title block, and that's the new key here is in the past we were able to create placeholder sheets, but now we're able to do this because we can specify the title block, the sheet number, and the sheet name. So I'm going to import that and just show you that then back over here under our sheets, we have a whole series of sheets that were created automatically. So now we want to place the viewports on the sheets. Right? So in order for Revit to do that, basically there has to be either some elevation markers or some annotations. So real quickly, I'm just going to come over here and just do a wall just to say this might be the representation of where I want the wall to be. And we're going to take the top constraint. We're going to have it go up to level 6. And just to show you that here is the wall that represents that information. Okay, so that's, and you'll notice that if I go to like level 5 HVAC, it's there. So that means I have some geometry that can be placed on these, the viewports can be placed on the sheets. So now we're gonna come back over here to BIMLink, and we're gonna say viewports create new, import, and we're gonna go to rich again. You know what, and before I do that, let's go back to here, rich, and I'm just gonna show you the viewports. We have the family and type, and then we also have the title on sheet. So I may want to update that information as well. So I'm going to say equals, and we'll do RT, or you know what, we'll do that in parentheses, RT dash, end of parentheses, and the view name, which is, let's say E2. So here's where you can use the formulas, which are really nice. And then just, I'm going to bring that all the way down and update that. So we're going to now save this. And this is where I keep moving my different ones. So we're going to do rich. We're going to just show this. I'm going to do it rich 5 here. All right. So now we're going to specify, and we'll say, okay, that's good. Now this viewports, I'm going to import. We'll say rich 5. And it's going to go ahead and create all of those viewports now on the sheets. And again, because I have some geometry there, we can see that, which is nice. I'm going to just say import. We'll close this. Now, if I come down to my sheets and go to any one of them, like let's say this, I don't know, M203 level, you'll notice that that has been placed on the sheet. And it's all placed based on the X and Y coordinate, being that it's the 0 point to the sheet is the lower left, right? So in this case, I actually did 1, 1, which is based on the overall title block. It's 1 foot over and 1 foot up, basically. So you can use inches or you can use feet to place these viewports on the sheets. All right, so I know I spent a lot of time on that, but I thought it was nice just to kind of show you some of the new creation tools that we have within Ideate BIMLink. And again, we have over 350 sample links that you can use to get ready and basically start reviewing your information in your Revit model. All right, so that's Ideate BIMLink. Next is Ideate Explorer. I'm just going to show you a few things with Ideate Explorer, which allows you to audit your Revit models. It shows you every element and every instance of your project. So if we come over here, let's go back to my my project here, and we'll do, you know what, well, I like this. I'm going to go over to my views, and we'll switch over to my 3D audit. I like that one in this case. So here's a 3D view of the project. We're going to now come up and do Ideate Explorer. So Ideate Explorer allows me to explore elements, to navigate to views and sheets, and actually even review warnings. But I'm just going to look at the entire project here. I'm going to come over to my, let's say, curtain wall mullions or curtain wall, let's say panels. I've got 786 of them. So it's going to show you actively how many you have based on the category, family, and type. So in this case, I have operable panels. I've got 44 operable panels. It shows me every instance. If I want to go to a particular instance, I double click and then I can highlight that. And you can see that that red panel in the background has been highlighted. I can then choose all 44 and then say, you know what, I want to switch this from a clear panel over to a sliding panel. And so just like you saw with Ideate Style Manager, I can work interactively in the project. I can make changes. I can update information, and this dialog can be open. So now I've changed that information. You'll notice I talked about like we can show CAD files. And so like Style Manager, I have the ability to show like where this is being used, you know, if it's being used in a detail view or maybe if it's being used in a view that's hidden. So in this case, it's actually in a view. It's the view is called site plan, which is totally wrong because why is a bunch of door details in the site plan? But I can open that up and say, oh, you know what? That was a total mistake. Let's get rid of that. And I'm getting rid of the AutoCAD file. But again, as you saw with Style Manager, there may actually be some residual object styles or maybe imports and families that I still need to use Style Manager to review and purge those out of my project. But this gives me an idea of where they are. You see I have 172 of them. I can review that information. I also wanted to show you that we can review warnings. So I have this warning like highlighted floors overlap. And so if I double click on it, you can see that in the background there, it's actually showing me where that is. You know, double click, but it's hard to see. So what I can do is do a control on both of these, use my little sunglasses and say isolate those elements. When I isolate just the floor slabs, I can quickly see that, oh yeah, there's the problem right there where the floors overlap. Let's edit the boundary. Let's bring that back so it's no longer conflicting. And once I remove the conflict, then that warning goes away. So I have complete control of the warnings. I can rank them. There's a lot of manipulations here about if I go to manage, where is the ranking file? What type of warnings am I reviewing? So again, a lot more than I can just show in this few seconds here of Ideate Explorer, but it's really a robust tool to help you understand that. So I'm going to reset that temporary hide isolate. We're going to come back here to the view itself. So, you know, Ideate Explorer is about auditing your Revit project. It's a true model browser. It shows you every element and the count of every element, which is really important. And then through the use of query, you can look at parameters. So not only like, for instance, the panels that I showed, but you can say, I only want panels that are 2 by 2, or I only want panels that have a particular type of glazing. So I can refine that very easily using query. And then I have my warnings manager, which I showed you that you can, you know, again, interact with the elements dynamically. The Autodesk Revit dialog doesn't allow you to resize, doesn't allow you to interact with the elements. So this gives you a lot of flexibility. And it's important to review warnings because they can get out of hand, just like our styles that you saw earlier with Style Manager can completely get out of hand. It can cause, you know, if you have a lot of warnings in your project, it can cause model inaccuracy, upgrade issues. There potentially even file corruption issues. So it's important to review and fix these warnings on a daily basis. So that's our Ideate Explorer project or application. Ideate Sticky works with Excel. Oops, there we go. Works with Excel and on the same or in a different way than Ideate BIMLink. BIMLink was all about data, but Ideate Sticky is all about the sort of representation of how the information looks and how it would be displayed in Revit. So as an example, if I come over here and let's just create a new view, I'm going to create a new sheet view here. And So we've got now a sheet view. I now come over to Sticky, and I'm going to insert or link. So if I say create the Excel file here, we're going to come over to our, let's say, desktop. We've got some samples there, and I'm going to go down to my lighting spec, and I'm going to basically say, on the lighting spec, I want to take the tab from Philips Liability, and I want to say OK, and that links the information sort of graphically, but it's also a schedule, but we're using the schedule header to update this information so we can show graphics, we can show text, and now if I come over here to my samples directory, we come over to the multi-page revisions, we're going to go to the tab that I talked about, which is, not multi-page revisions, oops, sorry, Liability, Philips Lighting. Get the right Excel spreadsheet. And Philips Liability, and here's where I'm looking at the information in the Excel file. So if I say Philips Liability, let's say for New York City, and I want to change information here, like the color, so we're going to change it to, like, let's say a salmon color. And I'm also going to change the area that I'm looking at. I'm going to call it small. So what I did there is 3 changes. I changed the text, I changed the color, and I changed the actual area. And then I'm going to save it. Then back over here in Revit, we come over here to Sticky, and it knows immediately it's out of date. So what I want to do is click on Auto Update, which is going to go out and get, there's the Philips Liability for New York City, changes the color. And then finally, I want to update and change the print area to that area called small. Select OK and close. And now I just have the area for the 3 light fixtures as opposed to 4. So this gives me a great way to incorporate Excel data as a native Revit schedule into my project. So let's come over here. And so you can see the benefits. You can make changes to the Excel file. It's updated in however many projects you've linked it into. So if you're doing general notes, you could update the Excel information once, and then it updates in all of the Revit projects. So you can republish that without even opening the Revit project. Okay, finally is our Ideate Apps application. And Ideate Apps is a collection of 9 tools. So remember Ideate Style Manager at the beginning when I talked about, like, there were 9 basically styles. We could go through patterns or line styles or materials. So this is somewhat similar in the sense I've got 9 tools within one application. And so I don't have the time to show you everything, but I thought I'd highlight a few of them for you. We have the ability to renumber almost any element, and that renumbering tool is very customizable, and you can draw a spline through the project, or you can actually renumber one by one. But again, that's quite robust. We have a smart delete, which allows you to understand what you're deleting as well as any dependents. So you're deleting a wall, as you see here on the screen. Not only is it deleting the wall, but it's deleting the louvers and the window frames and a toddler seat and toilet accessory tags. And then you can, just like Explore, you can double click and find out where all these things are located before actually deleting it. And then our X-ray allows you to understand why something doesn't display in a particular view. And I thought I'd show this one live because I know people really like this one. If I come over here to, again, our view, I'm going to switch windows over to my, let's see, hide and seek. So I have a number of problems here, right? And so I'm going to just show you one. Why aren't the plumbing fixtures visible in this view, right? So I've got this detailed view of my toilet room, and I don't understand why the plumbing fixtures are not showing up. So what I can do is come over here to Ideate X-ray. Oops, not spell check, sorry. X-ray, and I can say, you know what, I want to search. So it's got this nice wizard. Do I want to look for a 3D element, a 2D element, or a view reference, level, or grid. In this case, I'm going to search the area, which is for a 3D element, this toilet fixture, and I'm going to say, you know what, somewhere in here is a toilet fixture. And so I can look at the categories and highlight and say, oh, well, there's the plumbing, there's the toilet. Let's tick on that and say next. And have X-Ray find that for me. It's going to go through over 50 different searches, whether it's outside the view range, the categories turned off, it's in a view template. In this case, it says, hey, the work set's not open. And what I love about this is if you select Show Me, it's actually going to bring up the work set dialog where you can see that the plumbing fixtures are not opened. You can then say, open that, say, okay. And now, again, you see the plumbing fixtures. And you can go on your merry way, or you can do it again and try to figure out other things that aren't displaying. But it's a great way to understand why something doesn't display in a particular view. So that's our Ideate X-Ray. And then as you just saw, when I accidentally selected that one, we have a spell check that spell checks all open sheets and views, all sheets in the sheet list, and it also checks schedules, which is really important. So if you have a view list or if you have sheets in the sheet list, we can check those for spelling as well. And then our next series of applications that are part of Ideate apps are all around view creation and layout, basically. So we can create new views based on a series of parameters. So like if you wanted to have, let's say HVAC first floor, but you wanted to have it with a different phase setting, or maybe a different design option, you could set all that up and then create the number of views that you want as part of sort of a batch creation process. Then our sheet manager allows you to drag and drop views from the left-hand side of this dialog to the right. So you can basically lay out and review information right from this dialog. And then using align and clone, you can align views very easily on the sheet. And then clone allows you to duplicate a sheet. So in Revit, you just can't right click and say, duplicate, because it's not allowed in the project browser, or it's not allowed because, as you see here, the viewport options, we're controlling, okay, you're going to duplicate that sheet, but are you going to copy the viewport, or are you going to swap it with a different viewport? So maybe you're creating a new sheet and you've got HVAC first floor plan, you want to swap it with HVAC second floor plan. So all that can be done with our clone very easily.